Thank you, Murti. Thanks for the brief introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Alice, and I'm a Senior Analytics Manager, providing analytics and recommendations supporting our medical teams and cross-functional teams at Genentech. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to come back to share my perspectives on this topic, which I have a lot of passion on. There are many presenters in this conference over the past day, today and tomorrow, who are talking about different aspects of natural language processing, or NLP, from the technical points of view to business points of view. I'm going to cover the business points of view, and I hope based on my interest, many of these insights we are sharing collectively can resonate with you effectively. As a quick reminder, the following presentation represents my opinion and does not necessarily represent the views of Genentech. Here are some objectives for today's session. I want to cover what does it mean for natural language processing NLP going mainstream. I want to cover business values associated with NLP. And then the third one is implications for the business, your immediate stakeholders, your teams to truly embrace NLP as a new capability. Before COVID, we could get a lot more live dialogues, but with the virtual platform, let's try to use the chat feature here, as I do have a few interactive exercises put in to get you participate and engage in shaping this session. So please be ready to participate when we pause and do a quick pulse check using your chat function. Okay, so chat function here is not just for questions, it's also for participation, okay, for this session. All right, so let's do a quick warm-up exercise. First exercise, please be ready to use your chat function here. How is NLP being utilized within your company? Is it A, not at the moment, B, evaluation in progress, just started, pilot phase, C, you are in the middle of scaling it or moving towards a scaling phase, D, it's already part of a core capability, lots of integration points into business activities. Okay, we have some folks providing A's, not at this time, so you're probably interested to learn more. We have folks, now D, Cornelius D, part of core capabilities. We have C moving into scaling phase. We have individuals moving to, okay, cool. Thank you for the participation. So that's a quick warm up. And if you don't see any choices when we go through this, just feel free to type in whatever choices and stage you're at to make it more fun. So thank you. Now you're all warmed up. We have additional exercises for you to share your perspective. So thank you for that warm-up exercise participation. Okay, I did a little of research in terms of key trends 2021 and 2022. Both years, the headline is NLP is going mainstream. And in fact, it is being categorized as one of the key disruptive AI trends in numerous industry reports and news alerts. So in 2022, more companies will see the utility of natural language processing in helping humans speak with machines that comprehend their language. The NLP technology, see on the right-hand side here at the bottom, will be incorporated into multiple aspects of various industries. And this technology is evolving and can now better understand the context, nuances, and ambiguous of human language. For that reason, more companies plan to use NLP to draw out insights from large amounts of information and data and automate tasks like questions, answering, what does it mean, aggregations, business trends tracking. The development of NLP models might soon be a low-code affair with little to no knowledge of AI and machine learning, and you can expect more no-code tools to enter the NLP era in the next couple of years and ease the entire natural language processing for everyone. And it was started as a very complex kind of a subcategories under AI. The whole idea here, as you are probably familiar with, the whole industry trend has always been, how do we bring this capabilities more mainstream? There's more people that are ability to understand more of the business analytics concept, but they don't know how to code. So how do we make it simpler for more adoptions, right? So you're going to see a lot of these trends coming forward in the next few years. What are some of the other trends in NLP? For example, monitoring social media using NLP is getting more traction and getting more sophisticated as product managers across various industries be able to detect all the sentiments, comments, identify areas of improvements, and get real-time analysis with more sophistication, right? So social media listening platform, as we know, has been there, but it's getting more sophisticated. In my specific industry, healthcare, right, as well as many other industries, the NLP allows us to generate and aggregate information from various channels, such as in-person meetings, mobile devices, contact centers, websites, conferences, chatbot, etc., to holistically understand the customer's points of view by combining internal and external data sources together. Similar to what the previous speaker has talked about, combining internal and external data sources together. When you're able to get to that, it's quite powerful. I want to talk a little bit more also about adoptions of a new capability within organizations like NLP. Let's take a look at this framework for a second. So here's the famous S-curve framework. The S-curve model is a good conceptual depiction to understand how a new capability is adopted. This can be applied to just about in any industries or situations with new capability getting introduced. So here you can see the S-curve percentage of adoptions over time. Innovators, early adopters, and early majority users account for half of the early adoptions. But quite frankly speaking, on the different use cases, the N number of these groups are relatively small compared to those in late majorities and beyond. When a company likes to experiment first before going to scale, you have to think about your pilot focus on innovators and early adopters. Then you scale typically, which is twice as much of your users, or if not more. To go mainstream, your regular business users don't have the technical programming expertise. So in order to help them to appreciate and to adopt into a more data-driven culture as natural language processing and AI, and the concept of this conference themes is around how do we get to that. It's a journey to get through, and you have to plan for that. Natural language processing, the building of this capability and adoption has its own learning curve. So if you're in the journey of building and try to get it to mainstream, you need to allow for appropriate time and energy to get to maturity. So you have to be patient with this. Now, let's do another exercise here. So please be ready to use your chat function. Beyond data science teams, how would you rate your company's overall business adoptions of natural language processing? Is it A, beyond data science teams, adoption is still relatively low, like lower than 34%? Is it B, early majority, 34%-ish? C, we're in a point of inflection, getting late majority? And D, we're already there, no work required, we're already good. So please use the chat function here and share your perspective. What do you think your company is in terms of adopting this particular capability? Any thoughts? Or if the choice is not here, just type in whatever answers you have. Don't know? We have some people putting A, okay. Any other thoughts? You can do a thumb in the air. It's a guess, it's a guess.
And our people like A first always.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Once the A, they'll put A right away.
Yeah, it seems to be. So, okay. So yeah, I mean, natural language processing, it is still relatively new. So yeah, it's not surprising that it's still in a much smaller group. So if you have other thoughts, feel free to put in the chat. Okay. All right. So moving on to the business values associated with natural language processing. Um, it is a new kind of capability. So one of the things you want to be able to do as you're assessing, or if you're not there, is to be able to articulate what it means to the business. I do think at the end of the day, it is anchoring on the three core elements. The first element here is enhance customer experience and increase satisfaction with them, and also discovering any unmet needs. It's extremely important because it provides a lot of contextual information. It specializes in pulling information out from unstructured data sets, right? So that's where you get a lot of contextual context into what's happening. The other broader perspectives, depending on where you're at, is to be able to perform objective business analysis and trends across the board. NLP allows you to pull data from various channels to give you that comprehensive view of what's happening. Yeah, okay, so we have individuals like Rolando. Be interesting to kind of know your experience as well. As we pause for some of the sessions to get your perspectives there. And the third one, to simply talked about, is reducing costs and inefficiencies. Reducing manual effort. If you are in an industry with a lot of free text data or use a lot of chatbots, can help increase the throughput and efficiency. If you have a lot of call centers, and a lot of this can help with those efficiency perspectives. But a lot of this help anchored into helping to understand your customers, your business, getting to know more, right? To do that well, NLP can add a lot of those values. I'm going to now open it back to you guys to use your chat functions to think about what other business values would natural language process bring to your organization. So for example, Rolando, you talked about you have tons of experiences with NLP. So what other values based on the previous pages that mentions that you would like to offer and share with the group? You can type it in. Others can type it in as well. So this is right now an open-ended chat features for you to participate and kind of brainstorm what other business values could natural language processing capability bring to your organization.
Just FYI, Alice and others, we have enabled the poll function in the pane underneath. Not that you need to use it today, but just for people to know.
Any thoughts? Don't be shy. You have things to share, feel free to type it in. We'll give it a, okay, cool, people are typing it in. All right. Connecting the analytics world, make the data usable, maybe having more transparency on government contracts. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for sharing some of those perspectives and the uses in other industries. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. If you have other ways to kind of think about it, feel free to share, because your sharing is not just sharing with me, it's sharing with the rest of the participants in the conference, right? Cool. Thank you for typing it in. All right, so let's talk about the bad, the ugly, and the good, right? The implications to the business, to your immediate stakeholders, and to your teams as you truly embrace natural language processing as a new capability. I've simplified it into 5 categories. The first category, as I mentioned, is understanding customer needs as well as your business objectives. I think this is an area to continue to explore across everybody's businesses and industries, as it brings a lot of transparency and kind of context into what's going on. Many times we just gather information from one source and another, right? And we kind of look at it from that perspective. And despite what some of these data points are telling us of, how the business should run or how the customers are providing feedbacks to us, it's hard to pull through quickly and effectively, as each of the organization has its own complexity. Natural language processing, as previously mentioned, provides us with the capability to understand customer and business needs with more context. So here, in terms of the good and the bad and the ugly, I give it a green, happy face as part of the good that comes with this capability. The second part to think about is integrations of people, mindset, process, and technology changes all together. And think about your company as an entire unit, right? How easy it is to introduce a new capability to fully integrate people, mindset, process, and technology all together. The complexity to integrate natural language processing, as well as any other new AI capability, brings change, and everyone and every department's journey and acceptance to change varies. So hence, we have the good, the bad, and ugly all associated with this front, depending on where everybody's risk and change tolerance are, and how introducing of a new capability like natural language processing could bring. The third part of it is connecting the data, getting insights and aligned to actions. We've often heard AI is a black box, but the path to get to maturity and also to harness a journey is a path and a journey on its own. As natural language processing and any other AI capabilities becomes more mainstream, this capability should be embedded in various platforms as well as your business activities. However, not all platforms and natural language processing capabilities are the same. Your use cases should determine what platform will be the most used, or if you want to build it, what will be the most suitable. For those teams that are looking at vendors, many vendors want to create a one-stop shop, but none can do it all. So you want to think about that for those that you are considering evaluating or piloting. The other piece to really anchor it on, in terms of what good insights look like, where natural language processing is being used as a capability, is to harness both internal and external data sets. A lot of education needs to be done because there will always comes with incomplete information and biases of what data sources introduce. For those of you who are developing AI tools and platform, please also help to provide additional insights and transparency so that AI and natural language processing, any kind of a new capability, doesn't get labeled as a black box. For this one, I think there are the good, the bad, and ugly components that comes to it, as connecting data sets bring more power to generate insights. That's the green happy face, but the path to implement could vary, right? So that's where you have the yellow and the red faces here. The fourth one here I'd like to highlight is measuring impact. The work everybody is doing is important, regardless of functions, but to help articulate what this means requires different translation to help anchoring what's the most important to your company objectives if you want to leverage natural language processing as a new capability. I put a green face and a yellow face here because, it is articulations. It may not be as bad as you think. It's just more thinking requiring. The last one here I want to just highlight is operational models, right? Operation for ongoing use. more natural language platforms or builds are moving towards no code or low code approach. So beyond your build phase, unless you're building everything in-house, which is extremely complex, it can be much broader in terms of reaching to your regular business users to help learn and support, right? So with that, the journey itself to get to that, it's a little bit, it's a temporary, but it's not as bad as it seems as you get to know more. So that's kind of a high level categories, but I'm sure it hasn't been fully outlined. So with the last exercise that we have here, please use your chat function. This is a multiple choice. What is the most difficult part in integrating natural language processing capability to execute for strategy? Is it A, understanding customer needs? Is it B, integration, people, mindsets, process, technology? Is it C, connecting data and insight and align to action? Is it D, measuring impact? Or is it the last one, setting appropriate operational model to support any of these emerging technologies? I give you a few seconds to put your thoughts. If it's a combination, feel free to just put your combination choices. All right, we have Felix mentioning C, connecting data to insight. Okay, does anyone else have other thoughts? B, okay. I think Rolando, you mentioned that your company has that incorporated. So B is hard, okay. Sue mentioned B is hard, okay. Any other thoughts? A, okay. Understanding customer needs. Yeah, depending on you guys' journey right now, there seems to be different aspects. And E, okay, we also have A, it is hard also, yeah. Thank you for sharing your perspectives there. Yeah, so we get different aspects of it, and actually all of this have its level of difficulties, right? So natural language processing to then articulate the values getting integrated, it has its own journey. So thank you for sharing your perspectives there. So thank you for participating. All right. I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. It is extremely for you to understand business needs and values to embed natural language processing capability. For certain industries, it's a no-brainer. For other industries or company setup, sometimes understanding what unstructured data means can be complex and could also take a few iterations to get to it. So the ability to articulate your business requirements is harder. If you are embarking on this journey, you need to have the patience because there are many hurdles to go through. Other takeaways to think about this, optimizing integration points is really focusing around across channels, customer types, internal teams. How do you do this well upfront? To make it simple is something to think a little bit harder. And also iterate in different points of the journal. Another key takeaway is to looking at beyond your traditional metrics, right? Measuring the impact of natural language processing may be both qualitative and quantitative. So you have to think hard on how best to build up your business case around this. Some of the traditional metrics may have to be revisited to see what information can be utilized to drive meaningful and measurable impact and outcomes. And as machine learning and natural language processing matures, getting to know the concept also needs to be more widely educated because NLP is here to stay. For teams thinking about how to operationalize this, as one of the last key takeaway is, define skill sets and requirements along the way is a good practice as there are many implications. You don't want to build up a very big teams if you're still trying to figure out the requirements. How can you leverage a smaller teams to kind of flush out the requirements so you build in staged format? Lastly, is to embrace feedback. If you think about Amazon, getting feedback, allowing feedback is one mechanism to drive towards greater improvement of the machine learning model as well as context. NLP is gonna require the same thing too, as the feedback loop from human will make everything better. So please consider that as you kind of work towards implementing or refining these new capabilities into your organization. Data doesn't give insights, but it gives you the data that gives you the clues to get into possible insights. So that's what NLP brings. Lastly, at the end of the day, something we can control to help the organization adopt natural language processing more effectively, I want to leave you with this quote. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. I welcome you to continue to network with each other. That's what conferences are for, including virtual conferences, and also to solicit feedback and input on what will work. The natural language processing capability adoption is a journey on its own, and there are a lot of soft skills to practice and hone in. It's not just the technical skills. So the more you're able to educate others, the more they can help spread the word and help share their knowledge and expertise differently. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for those of you who have participated in the interactive sessions to make this virtual engagement more meaningful and fun. I will now open up to questions and to Murray if we have time to spare.